to you.
And hello everybody, and welcome back to another video, and it is Free Choice Friday. Unfortunately, due to current circumstances, I cannot play any of the games that you guys have suggested to me. Speaking of which, take this moment, go to the comments down below, and if you want to see me play a game, please do type of game for me to play, and I will probably get to it eventually on a Friday. But as I said, this Friday I could not play one of your games, and I apologize for that, but that's the reason I made it Free Choice Friday, and that is I basically said, okay, you can do whatever you want today. So today we are going to be breaking down what has happened in the playoffs so far. And also, we are going to be talking about the current games happening this week, maybe predicting the Super Bowl. So, basically, we're going to start with the AFC Championship. Let me tell you how these two teams got here. So, first off, the Chiefs. The Patriots lost to the Dolphins in the final game of the regular season, therefore making the Chiefs the number 2 seed. And the Chiefs got a first-round bye and a home field advantage. That is, of course, unless the Ravens went to the championship. But basically, they got a first-round bye, and then they were able to play at Arrowhead last week. And what happened was the Texans beat the Bills in a overtime game, last-second field goal. So then the Texans marched right into Arrowhead last week. They scored 24 points immediately. Some people were giving up on the Chiefs, and I was not one of those people. I saw the score and I was like, only 24 points. I have seen the Chiefs score 28 points in one quarter. And guess what? That is exactly what they did. They came right back out in the second quarter, and I believe that they made a one-score game, or they took a lead on the Texans, actually. And I was like, what did I tell you? It's happening. It's happening again. So now the Chiefs are in the AFC Championship. Now for the Titans. They've been the dogs of the AFC the entire season. They were a black horse to make the playoffs, and they weren't supposed to go anywhere in the playoffs, and now they have a chance to go to the Super Bowl. So how did they get here exactly? Well, let me tell you, they got barely enough wins. The people they needed to lose lost. They snuck into the playoffs, but they had to play the Patriots in Foxborough. That is an extremely hard place to play during playoff time. And they marched right in there and showed the Patriots, hey, you're not as good as you think you are. And now the Patriots get knocked out in Wild Card Weekend, and Patriots fans are just left stunned. So now, if winning in Foxborough wasn't enough, now they need to go win at Baltimore. So they march into Baltimore. Baltimore has been considered the best team in football all throughout the year. They're supposed to be Super Bowl champions, make it to the Super Bowl. Their path was laid for them. And the Titans were like, hold on, wait a minute. They got the Ravens to have a very, very, very slow start, as in the Ravens didn't start to do anything until like the third quarter. And Lamar threw 2 picks. I remember he had for a quarterback, he had a bunch of unnecessary roughness, unsportsmanlike conduct penalties, and those did not help the Ravens either. The Ravens' defense didn't play very good, although not to take anything away from the Titans, their offense is very good. And needless to say, the Titans beat the Baltimore Ravens. So now here we are at this championship round. So now we're going to break down some playmakers and who I think I'm going to win. So on the Tennessee Titans side, we have Um, Derrick Henry, for the number one guy I want to talk about on the offensive side. This guy stole the um, league rushing yard title, which means he got the most rushing yards. The dude's a beast. He averages, I don't know, 4 yards a carry or something. He just is a tank. He cannot go down. He's a very big and tall running back, which is not something you see very much these days. And people just can't bring him down. The dude just keeps his legs going, and so far his legs have carried the Titans to the AFC Championship. But even though he has carried them to the AFC Championship, Ryan Tannehill is the second guy I want to talk about. He has the best QBR since he became a starter in weeks 5, 6, something like that. And he's almost run the table for the Titans. Not quite. I think he's lost 2 or 3 games, but he's had pretty impressive wins, and then he obviously lost to teams like the Saints, but he also beat teams like the Chiefs in the regular season. So Ryan Tannehill has looked very impressive. And the thing about the Titans is if you do a play-action pass, their offensive line is good enough to handle that. Obviously, teams are going to be thinking it's a Derrick Henry run because Derrick Henry's a beast. They milk him the ball like 3 times a game. But all of a sudden, it's a play-action pass. Ryan Tannehill drops back, and he's throwing dimes to their receivers, who are also very good. They have a young budding receiver in A.J. Brown, and they also have a good receiver in Corey Davis. So, yeah, Titans, they're looking good, man, but next to the Chiefs, going to be really hard because the Chiefs on offense, obviously number one. If you don't talk about Patrick Mahomes, I don't know who you're going to talk about. The guy is crazy. He does it with his legs. He can do it with his arm. He can do it with whatever you want. It doesn't matter. He will just destroy you any way that he has to, basically. And I just think that the Chiefs are going to win this game. But anyway, let's get to the number 2 on the Chiefs offense. I would say more about Patrick Mahomes, but what is there to say, man? The guy's amazing. He just completes the strangest passes. He does things that quarterbacks are taught not to do, but then he does them better than what a quarterback is supposed to do. It's so strange the way he does things, but it's also so amazing to watch, and he is super good at it. He's smart with the football, and he knows when to run, but he doesn't run too much, you know? So number 2, obviously there are playmakers all over that offense, but I chose Travis Kelce, and here's why. Obviously, he is a receiving tight end, but he can block. But the main reason that I put him here is just because, Sammy Watkins is great. Tyreek Hill is great. All those guys are great. Their running backs are pretty good. But Travis Kelce is, if you think of, okay, who, if I throw him the football, is going to get me an easy 5, 6, 7 yards? And obviously, you're going to think Travis Kelce. The dude has great hands. He never drops anything. And he's just the most reliable pass catcher. And it always seems like if Mahomes needs an outlet, and if Tyreek and Sammy Watkins, Demarcus Robinson, what have you, are covered, he is able to pass to Travis Kelce for a first down. He's just a consistent outlet. Now, going back to the Titans, on the Titans defense, for number 1, I have safety Kevin Byard. And this guy, I haven't heard as much about him this year, and I'm going to be honest, I don't know much about the Titans defense. All I know is that they have been very good and been very consistent. I know that Kevin Byard, at least in the past, he's been a pretty much lockdown safety. He's a ball hawk, and he is a baller. The dude's an athlete. and I've just seen him really. He's the thing. He's like that one stitch that holds the whole quilt together, and that quilt being the Titans secondary. He can cover who they need him to cover. He can blitz. He can do basically anything. And then number 2, we have Jurrell Casey, who in my opinion is not only the best pass rusher, but also the best run stopper on the Titans defense. When I see him, the dude just commands respect. He gets pressure on the quarterback for a big guy, and he also stops the run. He's able to stuff it there. Now, on the Chiefs defense, we have at number 1, Tyrann Mathieu. This guy coming out of college, he already had a nickname, the Honey Badger. He played super good his first 2 years or so, and then he just slumped. And he's been on a slump pretty much ever since those first 2 years. And he was a free agent this offseason after a 1-year deal with the Texans. The Chiefs were like, okay, we're going to take a chance on you. And they succeeded. He is all over the field. He's looking like his old self. He doesn't miss tackles. He's great in pass coverage. And again, he's really, when you think Chiefs secondary, he's the only guy you can think of because Chiefs secondary is kind of abysmal. Okay, next we have Chris Jones, the Chiefs defensive end. He's either a defensive end or a defensive tackle, but when I watched him, he is also, like, when I think Chiefs D-line, he's the first guy I think of. He stuffs a run. He is a great pass rusher. He gets home a lot. And he's like the one guy who can stop the run on the Chiefs defense, because the Chiefs defense really isn't that great. But they do get sacks, and Chris Jones is a huge part of that. So that's a AFC breakdown. Next, we're moving over to the NFC. So this game is going to be the Packers and the 49ers. Both teams are currently 14-3. They both finished the regular season at 13-3, but San Francisco had the win over the Packers, meaning that they got the number 1 seed. The Packers got the number 2 seed. So when breaking down the offensive weapons for the 49ers, obviously number 1 comes to mind, George Kittle. This guy gives mad blocks in the pass and run game. He needs a cornerback or 2 on him to cover him. He's more of a threat than their receivers, and their receivers are good too. But George Kittle, he can block, but most of all, his hands are reliable. I've never seen him drop a pass, and on top of that, the dude's a big guy. Like when he went to college at Iowa, I remember looking at him before the draft, and he was a small guy for a tight end. He was really small, and I think that he's put on muscle and fat very nicely. And he's definitely starting to look like the best tight end in the league, but I'm not willing to put him above Travis Kelce quite yet. Another thing about George Kittle is that he can't go down after he catches the ball. No one can take him down. And that's how the 49ers offense is based. It's Jimmy Garoppolo has the, I think, lowest average pass yards of play, but yet the Niners have this awesome offense, and I think the reason is because George Kittle, Emmanuel Sanders, Deebo Samuel, they're all able to get yards after the play. Which takes us to Jimmy Garoppolo. He has proven that he is a very good game manager. He completes the passes he needs to, does hold on to the ball a bit longer than a lot of people want to, but he's been making the plays all over. It's so hard to put anyone at number 2 because they're all just so good. I mean, they got 3 solid running backs. Their receivers are awesome. Their offensive line's pretty good too, and the 49ers are just an all-around balanced team. So now moving on to the Green Bay Packers. We're at number 1. And I did not think I would ever be saying this, but at number 1 for the player I want to talk about on the Packers offense is Aaron Jones. This guy he's got to be the 3rd best running back in the league behind Christian McCaffrey and Dalvin Cook. He gets a bunch of yards after contact. The dude averages 3 yards a carry. He finished with the most all-purpose touchdowns. I think he was tied with McCaffrey for the most rushing touchdowns. He's just been carrying this Green Bay offense, and he's shown that he is a reliable running back, and he can carry it 20 times a game if you need him to. And I don't know what else to say. He's a reliable guy. He's good at reading the holes, and just all around a great back. Now, number 2, the guy that I thought at the beginning of, before Aaron Jones came along, that I'd be putting up here, Aaron Rodgers. Come on, it's Aaron Rodgers. He is smart with the football. He's not the reason for turnovers. The guy barely fumbles. He's good at reading defenses. He can complete passes down the field. It's just, he moves around in the pocket. He can do whatever you want him to. So now, going to the 49ers defense, we have at number 1, Richard Sherman. And it was hard to put him above Nick Bosa, but I'm putting him up here just because Richard Sherman is really the leader of that defense. He's kind of the diva of that team as well. After everyone thought he was an old washed-up corner, he's kind of came back and redeemed himself this season. He's been playing like a top 5 corner this year, even though the stats may not show it. Just watching him, he's really taken the defense under his wing as a leader, and he's also obviously given a huge boost to that defensive secondary. So that brings us to number 2, which is not in the secondary. We have Nick Bosa. This dude was a 2nd overall pick. He is a rookie, and he has kind of like came into the league and been like, okay, my bro, because his brother's with the Chargers, Joey Bosa, he's kind of just came to the league like, okay, I'm gonna live on with my brother's legacy, except he did it better. Nick Bosa has been tearing it up. Just watching him, he just gets around that line so quickly, and he's just so able to get at the quarterback, and he's playing as good as any defensive lineman in the league right now. He can stop the run, he can stop the pass, he gets consistent pressures. Some teams need to double him, others don't. It just depends how good their tackles are. So now moving over to the Green Bay Packers defense. At number 1, we have Za'Darius Smith. Now, both of these guys are going to be free agent signings from the offseason. And Za'Darius Smith, my goodness, he has just teared it up. I believe he finished 3rd in sacks. He has the most QB pressures in the league, and it's not even close. The dude can kind of stop the run, but that's not what he's bred for. He's also not bred for man coverage. He is bred to be an outside linebacker. And just the amount that he has been, just the havoc that he has been giving quarterbacks throughout the entire season is just insane. Him and Preston Smith made a great duo of signing, and I think that they're going to be in Green Bay for a long time to come. So now we have Adrian Amos at number 2, and while he's kind of an unsung hero of this Packers defense, he's been I haven't seen him get burned in coverage once this year. He's good at making tackles. He's a lockdown and man coverage, and even though he was, obviously, he's got Jair Alexander, Preston Za'Darius Smith stealing all his thunder on defense, because, he's more of a quiet guy. He's been making the plays that the Packers need all year, and has been providing a lot of depth at that safety position, especially with Darnell Savage, who's also been playing at a very high level for a rookie. So now it is time to predict the game. So for Chiefs versus Titans, I do think that since Arrowhead is considered to be one of the hardest places to play right now, I still gotta give it to the Chiefs, but the Titans, I would not be shocked if they win. It's almost impossible to predict this game because they both play at such a high level on offense. And the Titans' defense is much better than the Chiefs' defense, but it's Arrowhead, man, and Patrick Mahomes wants that Super Bowl. So now for the Packers-Niners, I'm a Green Bay Packers fan. It's hard for the Packers to win on the West Coast. We have not played good. Obviously, there's nothing more in the world I want than for them to prove me wrong. I just think that the Niners are too good at every position. They're too consistent. I think that they deserve a Super Bowl after their stellar season. And I gotta pick the Niners. But I'm rooting for a Packers-Chiefs Super Bowl. The first ever Super Bowl was Packers-Chiefs. And for the 100th NFL season, come on, Packers-Chiefs Super Bowl. But anyway, guys, tell me what you thought about my list of, highest impacting players, my predictions and whatnot. But thank you all so much for watching, and I'll catch you on the next wave.